is a special meeting on a local law to increase the 2016 salary of the Highway Superintendent of Seneca Falls. Do we have anyone who would like to speak on that matter? Seeing none, Pat, what's our next course of action here?
Close the public hearing, and this matter appears on the agenda for later, so we can take action at that time. Or if you want to consider it now, you can.
Oh, great.
The whole thing right now, if you like.
Okay.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
I thought you were asking if the people up there wanted to speak. So, how long has the new person been in this position?
January 1.
Okay, and we're looking at an increase in his salary at how much? I had a thing that said 5,000, but...
Yes, I believe that was incorrect. After the last discussion at the last board meeting, it was supposed to be 7, and that's been amended, and that's what the town clerk has.
And so what's the justification for a $7,000 raise to someone who's been on the job for 2 months?
He's been taking on a whole slew of new responsibilities. He's been a long-term member of that highway department, and he's going to start some of the setting the water lines in town. Jim, do you want to explain what you're going to be doing this summer in addition to your...
In addition, I'm going to help the water department install a water line on Blackbrook Road, and also they've got it in the works maybe for doing the County House Road. And also they asked me to tear the house down if the board approves it on where the old town hall is.
And do you know what would the average salary be for someone in his position for New York State?
I don't know the average salary. Do you have that information?
Well, Danny Wood's going out at 84,000.
Right.
Yeah, he went out at 84,000.
But he was with us for a long time?
4 years with it, Nikki?
Right.
Yes.
All
Jim's been here for 28, I'm going on 29, right?
Yeah, going on 29 years.
the salaries for all elected officials are required to be published and noticed prior to the election.
Mm-hmm.
And so, knowing that the prior highway superintendent was not going to be running again, the salary was adjusted down prior to the election and advertised as such, and the election produced Mr. Peterson, and we have somebody, and I believe the board's feeling was that we have somebody who is knowledgeable, experienced, and capable of taking on these additional responsibilities that have been discussed. And so this local law reflects that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think that the public hearing was formally closed, so if we could
We have to close the public hearing
make sure it's
before.
closed and have it in the minutes that way.
Can we vote before that?
Well, let's close the public hearing and then we'll go forward.
One more chance for petitioners. Okay, seeing none, I move that this public hearing be closed.
Second, right?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Public hearing's closed. Is this the appropriate time to make a motion for?
Sure, we can do that. I do want to point out to the board members that this is, as stated, it is $7,000 more than what was advertised prior to the election, and that is required to be done by a local law as opposed to a simple resolution. So we have this local law, and there's also required that this is subject to permissive referendum. So 45 days from adoption, this, if residents want to submit a petition, this can be put to a vote. So this local law will be, there'll be a notice put in the paper of the action, and then the 45 days will run from today. So that's also part of it. That's the last paragraph of the local law.
So the motion could read, I move that the salary of the highway superintendent of Seneca Falls is raised to $67,000.
Sure. Or you have, everybody has local law number 1 of 2016 in front of them. You could say, the motion could be to adopt local law number 1, 2016, raising the salary by $7,000.
I move to adopt local law number 1 of 2016 to raise the salary of a highway superintendent of Seneca Falls to $67,000 per year. I have a second.
I'll second it.
I have discussion. Seeing no discussion, we'll go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, Pat, one final question. Can I go right into the regular meeting now?
I think that would be appropriate. The typical meeting time is 7. We're about 15 minutes ahead of schedule. But I don't, this was also advertised as 6:30 for the public hearing. You can wait, but I don't see a problem going forward.
Okay. Mrs. Greer, would you like to take attendance for? You don't have to do that twice?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. We have a number of petitioners here, but first it's open bids, highway equipment rental.
Those bids were due in by a certain time. That was not 7 o'clock tonight. Yes, they were due in today. Right, so they were, so, there you go.
First bid is from Thurston Services Incorporated.
So these bids are all going to be fairly lengthy. They are for the rental of a number of different items of highway equipment that will be necessary for the town to complete the various projects that we'll have during the year. However, not economically feasible or realistic for the town to be purchasing the piece of equipment. So this is for rental of numerous different items. So there's not one. It's not your usual contract where we open the bid, we have a number, and we're comparing apples to apples, and we go with the low bid. This is a little bit more complex. There's more moving parts to it because there's a number of different types of equipment. So I think what ultimately is going to be best here is to open the bids, and we can review them this evening, but ultimately I believe the town and the highway superintendent and his committee are going to want to sit down and go through these and see how the bids line up with the particular projects that we know we have coming this year. So I don't expect awarding that, I don't think that awarding this particular bid this evening is necessarily the best thing for the town.
So the first one was from Thurston Services Incorporated. The second one is from J.C. Dendis Incorporated. And the third one is from Seneca Pipe and Paving. Can we set a time when these bids are going to be reviewed? They can be reviewed in the public. Okay.
Sure.
So-
We can certainly have copies available
Yeah.
at the town clerk's office. I'm not sure, Jim, who's your committee?
Vic,
Oh, okay, well, there we go. So, all right, so I think you guys might want to sit down with Jim and go through these. Jim?
You have to pick one company, you can't pick specific things from each.
Yeah, that's how we've been doing it I mean, the idea is to try to arrive at the best deal for the town, but also keeping things simple is part of that. You know, to have some predictability going forward for the next year. So yeah, as far as the highway committee, I'd be happy to help out with that and go through this.
Later on in the meeting, under reports, I think I talked to a few of you on this, about committees. I'd like to change the way committees are being done right now. So just to give you a heads up when I discuss it more, and probably the same thing I discuss now, is that I would like to see committee meetings being held like in the evening at a special board meeting where we can invite the public to committee meetings, and you know, only those two committee members would get a vote. But right now, as it is, committee meetings aren't held in public, and I really think the committee meetings need to be held in public. And so we can be seen as an open government. So we would have to decide on what night the committee meetings would be held, and that would be up to the board. And I could see committee meetings being held for approximately a 2-hour length of time on another night. So,
You're gonna have all in one night?
yeah, all in on one night. Okay, we'll get to petitioners now. Our first petitioner tonight is Brad Jones. He's going to speak about leadership. Welcome, Mr. Jones. I think you know the rules, but I'm going to repeat them.
10 minutes?
Thank you for the handouts, Mr. Jones.
I also gave a handout to both Dean Zettelmeyer and Pat Morrell, including an attachment. This evening, the subject is leadership. And this letter is going to the Honorable Seneca Falls Town Supervisor Greg Lazaro, as well as the Seneca Falls Town Council members. My name is Brad Jones. I'm a resident taxpayer of the town of Seneca Falls. Leadership, Webster's Dictionary. The definition on leadership fits this board very well. And I'll talk a couple phrases. Leadership, to direct the course, quote unquote. Going before, quote unquote. The reason I say that, in the last 30, 60, 90 days, this board has been listening to its constituents. We've heard them come up with some great words and great phrases about taking a new course. And they're actually going before even some of our state leaders, our federal leaders. So with that said, I'd like to have the audience give this new board a round of applause. The stop work order for the rail siding is now in place. and the words spoken thus far by our town supervisor, Greg Lazaro, on taking a new direction for our community are refreshing to hear. So what's next? Dean, Pat, who I consider very good friends, but I think it's time for our town code enforcement officer and our town attorney to do much the same that the board is doing. Go on offense. We no longer need to have the code enforcement officer or the town attorney play defense. We need to have you go on offense. And what do I mean by that? You need to give monthly updates to the residents and taxpayers at these meetings. One example, I'm still waiting for my question from February 2nd to be answered by one of the two of you. Which one of you is the appointed designee for our town government to audit Seneca Meadows as it pertains to air quality, leachate concentration entering our sewage system, and the overall site plan? I'm going to continue to ask this question. I've asked it in February, I've asked it in March, I'm asking it again. Who is the appointed designee? Just last week on 3/30/16, our state senator, Michael Mazzolio, shared with the town board on what actions the code enforcement officer and the town attorney need to take. I have provided his letter to both of you. Some of the tasks that are mentioned in his letter are as follows. 1, the town has to document every case of non-compliance meticulously so that it can start building a case for denying or delaying the 2017 permit extension that is coming up based on the very spotty performance record of SMI. The second is questions of the zoning and land use are locally determined and are within the town of Seneca Falls authority to regulate. That's how important it is for our code enforcement officer as well as our town attorney to go on offense. In ending, I'd like to go back to the word leadership. I want to thank Town Supervisor Greg Lazaro in advance for setting a date for the community forum to be held on Wednesday evening, April 20th, beginning at 7 p.m. We as a community do wish to take a new direction as it pertains to our future, and especially for the future of our children. Clean air, clean water, nothing less. Thank you.
Our next petitioner is William Sweetie from Fair and Noble Peterman Road drainage.
My name is William Sweeting. I live at 2791 Fair Road, just north of Noble Road. I was here 2 years ago, same problem. The town has failed to keep their water in their ditches. Bottom line, my yards being ruined. Who's going to fix this? Number one. Number two, last year the town paid an engineering firm to do a study. Where's the results? 6 months, come on. I really want to know. I live here, here's Noble Road, water runs this way. Here's Garden Street, water runs this way, on my property. As a town, you're responsible to keep your water in your ditches, not in my yard. You've ruined it already once. You ruined my septic, it'll be, not here we get here. I will seek counsel if my septic is ruined. This is ridiculous. As a taxpayer, I deserve better than this, correct? Mr. Lazaro?
You deserve better, yes?
Yes. Is the town going to give Mr. Peterson, who inherited this problem, the money to fix this problem?
We will discuss this.
Okay. With you and me? Or you give me a meeting?
We could discuss it. I'll discuss it with the town supervisor and see what route we'll go.
Who's going to contact me? Tell me.
I'll have someone contact you.
Well, all right, I hope so, because last town supervisor we had, bad, terrible. When they did ditch the road in front of my house, it did help. But now, I look at my neighbor's ditch, the water's running backwards. Which way is the water supposed to run? I've asked this problem to Soil and Water, zero response. Come on. I'm here, the lake's 128 feet below me. I think the town has responsibility to the taxpayers, not just me, all down the road and being flooded out, like did the damn ditches, excuse my French. It's very easy. I'm not a rocket scientist. It doesn't take rocket science to figure this out. 120 feet, just keep on digging. You will hit the lake. Correct? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next petitioner is Bill Martin. Going to talk water sewer on routes 5 and 20 and routes 89.
Good evening, I'm Bill Martin from Montezuma Winery. Thank you for letting me speak this evening. We're on the corner of 89 and 5 and 20 near the intersection of 318. We've been there since 2001, and when we first established our property there, we had no utilities, no cable, water, sewer, or anything. So we've established that all of ourselves and have been running that way ever since. We've put a lot of money into our water treatment and sewer treatment there. And now we have Bill Heary, who purchased a property across the road from us, Simone's old property there, as well as Tom Smith, who purchased the property that's just down 89 from us. He's running his cattle service there, and we'll be doing IVF for cattle there. And Carl Martin from Glenwood Foods. We're all here interested in getting an extension of the water district to our facilities. And we've approached the town of Tyre, which we're in the town of Tyre. Bill Heary is half in the town of Tyre and half in the town of Seneca Falls, and Tom is in the town of Seneca Falls. We're interested in extending that water district down to us. Bill Heary and I have agreed to pay Barton and LaJudas sum of $5,500 to do a feasibility study and engineer's report for our water to be run to us from Vincent's Park to our businesses. And we're also paying $1,500 to do a feasibility study on running sewer. For our business alone, we use about 1,500 gallons a day. Tom's looking at 1,500 to 3,000 gallons a day, and Bill's looking at about 1,500 gallons a day. Carl's much smaller because it's just a grocery store. But with that consumption, we've been using that. Right now we're limited at what our production can be now. Our septic system is at the peak of what it can take, and we would like to put in what they call cross-flow filtration, which would make us more efficient and allow us to expand. That would increase our capacity, or our water consumption, another 1,500 gallons a day or so, and we just can't do that with the system that we're on now. So what we're here today is asking that you would work with the town of Tyre to expand the water district into our area and continue to work with us. So, any questions at all? I'd be happy to answer them now, or of course I'm always available at the winery too. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next petitioner is August Sinacropi. He's going to speak about the town's comprehensive plan. Mr. Sinacropi. Our next petitioner after him is Allison Stokes, Town Issues. Good evening.
Good evening. It gives me special joy to address you tonight. This is the first regularly scheduled monthly meeting that includes our 2 women council members. I feel that Seneca Falls has turned a corner. Our town is more representative than it has been, and I congratulate you and Mary, and thank you for coming forward to serve our community. There is another way that Seneca Falls has turned a corner. Supervisor Lazaro has made it clear that he values and encourages citizen input. At the February and March council meetings, Many people came forward to speak, to share their concerns, suggestions, fears, and hopes for the future. The experience was extraordinary. What is more, as has been said, a Seneca Falls Town meeting has been scheduled for Wednesday, the 20th of April, about 2 weeks from now, with council members willing to listen and respond to the people. Democratic government in Seneca Falls is no longer compromised. In my experience, this is a huge break from the past when citizen voices were ignored and shut out. For me, the most striking evidence of this dysfunction was the decision of the council members to build a multi-million-dollar new town hall in a residential neighborhood. Many urge adaptive repurposing of a town-owned building within walking distance of restaurants and businesses. The town engineer gave a cursory review of why none of the buildings was suitable. Although people came forward to offer alternative suggestions, there was no openness to discussion. Things got worse. A petition by 350 townspeople who wanted to interrupt the action was thrown out on a technicality. When petitioners lost the dispute in court, many viewed our town council as an opponent, not someone acting in the best interests of the town. Recently, I came across a comprehensive plan for Seneca Falls from 10 years ago. A hard-working committee took 18 months to produce the plan. They consulted widely. They assessed the strengths of Seneca Falls, then called a town meeting to discuss the plan. It was adopted by the village and the town in the fall of 2006. This document is a treasure. It remains a relevant and reliable guide to future decision-making. The summary, which I have, and I have copy handouts in the back, is easy to read. Especially interesting is the vision committee members had for the year 2015. What did they foresee? Not a town hall newly constructed distant from from Fall Street. It is the precise opposite of what the plan describes as good for economic development.
You had 3 minutes.
2 sentences. In April 2016, we are at a point of a new beginning. Our Seneca Falls Town Council is committed to open government, to welcoming citizens' involvement. I applaud your willingness to take on difficult issues like the dump and the trash train. I applaud your determination and your courage, and I wish you well. Thank you.
Okay, I saw Mr. Sinacropi walk in, so we'll go back to him. He's going to speak on the town's comprehensive plan.
Sorry, I thought the meeting started at 7. I'm here this evening to ask the town board to consider 2 amendments to our town zoning ordinance. Our community is facing some critical decisions at this point that will shape our future. In profound ways. At such times, the reasoning and objectives of our long-term comprehensive plan can provide some invaluable clarity and direction as we strive to create the best future, both socially and economically, for our inhabitants. New York State has placed great emphasis on the value of its communities creating, refining, and advancing long-term comprehensive plans, and Seneca Falls has taken this state position very seriously and developed a clearly focused, well-prioritized, exciting, and achievable comprehensive plan. It places strong emphasis on the town's creating its best future by cultivating the community image and character that is based on the town's unparalleled historical legacy and our prime location in the heart of the geological wonders of the New York State Finger Lakes region. It calls for securing our future as a premier bedroom community for the Rochester, Syracuse, and Ithaca urban sprawl by placing great priority on our need to maintain a pristine, welcoming environment and fresh water supplies. Various scenarios have developed over time to lend increasing credence to the reasoning and objectives of our long-term comprehensive plan. For example, federal and state funds in Seneca Falls, in recognition of the importance of our historic sites and prime location in the heart of the wonders of the Finger Lakes, have now totaled over $31 million. The latest recently was a $5 million grant from the New York State Heritage Area to the National Women's Hall of Fame for the development of the Center for Great Women. Also, the multi-billion dollar Finger Lakes wine industry now brings an ever-increasing stream of potential visitors to our area and to our town if the community's environment, image, and character and attractions are properly developed and marketed. This reinforces our objective to use tourism as a strong economic engine in our future. Most recently, and perhaps most critically, the Wilmerite Corporation has chosen a site just north of the town of Seneca Falls with a location of a $425 million Del Lago Casino and Resort. It promises to bring tens of thousands of visitors and many potential new residents to the town, again, if the town's attractions and image are properly marketed. The amendments that I propose are two amendments to the Town of Seneca Falls zoning ordinance. Effectively, they are designed to limit any new landfills within the area in the future, because landfills are completely contraindicated by our long-term comprehensive plan. They defeat our efforts in many ways to achieve our long-term comprehensive plan.
Add 3 minutes.
And they also, the second amendment would also make known that the town of Seneca Falls, if there are any such existing landfills in the town of Seneca Falls, their existence will be honored based on the contract that now exists with that landfill. But at the time that landfill indicates it will no longer receive municipal waste, which is currently by contract in the host agreement 2025, they must move forward with closure due to under any prior conditions that are established by state or federal or local law. So I don't anticipate action on those amendments. It's just here for the board to look at. There are so many things that are bringing us into the future in a positive way along the guidelines of our long-term comprehensive plan. And the presence of the landfill is a complete contraindication to those efforts. So what I would urge you to take a look at those possible amendments and hopefully enact them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next petitioner is Jenna Lavita. She's going to speak on tourism in Seneca Meadows.
Hello everybody, my name is Jenna Lavita and I'm speaking to you tonight as a prospective Seneca County resident and business owner. More specifically, I'm speaking to you as a member of the Finger Lakes wine industry and as the winemaker from Ventosa Vineyards right down the road. I moved to the Finger Lakes, Geneva, actually to attend Hobart and William Smith colleges in 2004. And upon graduating from there, I was hired as a winemaker at Ventosa. And a few years after that, I was fortunate enough to buy a home, as well as open a business downtown in Geneva. I'm gonna talk a little bit just about trash and its parallels to the wine industry, and speaking as a representative of the wine industry, not necessarily for the entire industry itself. So unfortunately, or fortunately, wineries and landfills are not mutually beneficial. In fact, our entire product, wine, depends on someone's sense of smell. So you can imagine how a stinky trash-filled dump just a couple miles down the road would make us a little bit nervous. So trash and wineries don't mix, which therefore means trash and tourism also don't really mix. So where do I fit in? Well, as I told you, I am a prospective Seneca County resident. I'm looking to buy a home in this area. I'm also looking to start a business in this area that centers around agriculture. I'm also the winemaker at Ventosa, like I said before, and we are one of the many vineyards and businesses located in Seneca County. And as part of that Finger Lakes wine industry, as well as the tourism industry, we're speaking from $4.8 billion annually that comes into this area, from 9,393 acres, 1,631 families, 400 wineries, and 175 million bottles of wine. So together we generate $408 million in tax revenue for this area. So in case it isn't totally clear at this point, we make a lot of money for the state, and this expansion hurts our businesses. Specifically for the tourism industry, $62.5 billion was generated in traveler expenses in 2014. So the big picture is this, that on one hand you have Seneca Meadows, or the trash industry, with some short-term benefits and quick results, while on the other hand, you have me in my industry, and the farmers, families, and wineries that through the tests of nature and time have demonstrated their success as well as opportunity for future growth. So I ask you this, when you're thinking about what it is that you're gonna want in long-term growth, or
3 minutes.
what's good for the region, do you think of trash? Or is it something else that you want left in your mouth after you swallow that last sip?
Our next petitioner is Doug Semelis, and he's going to talk about Seneca Falls zoning laws.
That was a hard act to follow. Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the town board, Ms. Greer, and Mr. Morrell. My name is Douglas H. Zamos. I'm an attorney from Cooperstown, and I proudly represent Waterloo Container Company and the concerned citizens of Seneca County. My clients asked me to see how other municipalities have dealt with landfills in their community, and as expected, it turns out you're not alone. You're not the first community to have a landfill problem. Yours is just bigger than everyone else's. So I researched how New York law and courts have treated landfills and learned that towns have the legal authority to ban solid waste management facilities and to limit existing landfills to their current permit. And I'll repeat that. Towns have the legal authority to ban solid waste management facilities and to limit existing landfills to their current permit. Now, the New York Environmental Conservation Law allows municipalities to be more restrictive than state law, and I've included section 27-0711 of the Environmental Conservation Law in your packet. Now, the town of Carroll is a town in Chautauqua County, and they had a problem with a construction and demolition debris landfill that was 3 acres and it was going to expand to 50 acres. And the contact information page from the town of Carroll's website is item number 2 in your packet. And under its broad police power to protect the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens, the Carroll Town Board adopted Local Law Number 1 of 2007, which was a town-wide ban on solid waste management facilities in the town that contained an exemption which allowed bona fide existing landfills legally operating under a valid DEC permit to continue to operate, but only under that existing permit, as Mr. Sigropi has mentioned. And that town of Carroll, Local Law Number 1 of 2007, as filed with the Secretary of State, is item number 3 in your packet. Now, the owners of the C&D landfill challenged that town-wide ban, and that case went up to the state's second highest court, the Appellate Division, 4th Department in Rochester. And the 4th Department unanimously upheld the town of Carroll's authority to ban solid waste management facilities within its borders. And the 4th Department's decision in Jones v. Town of Carroll is item number 4 in your packet. The landfill sought permission to appeal the Appellate Division's decision to the Court of Appeals, but the Court of Appeals denied leave to appeal. So the 4th Department's decision is the law of the land here in the 4th Department. The Court of Appeals decision denying leave to appeal is item number 5 in your packet. Carroll's townwide ban was successful. The C&D landfill didn't expand, and it ultimately closed. But don't take my word for it. Satisfy yourself what I'm saying is true. Contact the supervisor, town board members, and the town attorney of Carroll. You have their phone numbers in your packet. And my clients then asked me to prepare a proposed local law for the town of Seneca Falls.
You have 3 minutes, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I'll conclude. They asked me to prepare a local law modeled exactly on the town of Carroll's local law, and that is item number 6 in your packet. You have the authority to pass a local law to ban solid waste management facilities in your town and to limit existing facilities to their existing permit. We urge you to review these materials, and at your next meeting, we urge a member of the town board to introduce this legislation, and then for the town board to hold a public hearing so the public can comment on it, and then we urge you to consider that town-wide ban. On behalf of Waterloo Container and concerned citizens of Seneca County, thank you very much.
Our next petitioner is Matt Blair. He's going to speak on the comprehensive plan and SMI host agreement.
My name, as the supervisor said, is Matt Blair. I too am a citizen of Seneca Falls and a taxpayer.
Microphone. It's not picking you up.
Is it picking me up now?
Yes. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? I'm speaking tonight to request that the town supervisor send an official open letter of notification to New York City Mayor de Blasio, the New York Governor Cuomo, the Federal Railroad Administration, Seneca Meadows, Progressive Waste Solutions, and the media that the town of Seneca Falls is considering revising its comprehensive plan, and that it is possible that the town may no longer wish to continue the host agreement with the Seneca Meadows landfill beyond its current ending date in 2025, and possibly not beyond the projected end of the landfill's life cycle in 2023. The purpose of the notification is to inform all parties who may be involved in the publicly reported prospective negotiation for a 30-year contract that contemplates the use of the trash train to deliver waste, including, by the way, hazardous materials such as asbestos that's packaged in conformance to DEC requirements, that the landfill may not be available to receive any waste beyond the estimated end of its life cycle in 2023 or the end of the host agreement in 2025. This should lessen the risk to Seneca Falls of having to incur the cost of an expensive legal defense against parties with deep pockets. We don't want to be victimized by litigation meant to send a message to all small municipalities not to determine their own future or protect their quality of life if it gets in the way of big city politics or corporate profits. The Citizens Advisory Committee, one another topic, is in its meeting on March 26th, voted unanimously to recommend that the town supervisors send the official notification. On another Citizens Advisory Committee matter, we're requesting that Patrick Morrell, the town's attorney, be approved for a time and be given permission for a privilege to be extended to the committee in order for Patrick to attend an upcoming meeting to discuss matters related to limitations and opportunities for citizen and community action from a legal perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next petitioner is Deb Naharo from Finger Lakes Railway.
Hi, everyone. I'm here on behalf of Finger Lakes Railway to address the ongoing issues of misinformation and confusion regarding the use of Finger Lakes Railway property in the Auburn Road Rail Terminal. Even if you don't trust me or the railroad, all I have today is truth. The truth, number one, is that the railroad property is not owned by the counties where we operate simply because we renewed our pilot agreements. Mr. Jones and others have alluded to this many times, and I'm sure all of you understand that pilot agreements are awarded to thousands of companies across the state and at least a dozen in Seneca County. This agreement does not give the IDA ownership of that company. That would be a legal liability nightmare. The benefiting companies retain exclusive rights to the properties they own while continuing to make payments to the local taxing authorities. They don't have to ask permission to operate. Truth number two, the Auburn Road Rail Terminal was built by Finger Lakes with Finger Lakes money. It was not built, as Mr. Churchill falsely stated, with a grant from Senator Gillibrand, and when asked if Mr. Churchill could confirm his source of information, he did not. Yet, when we told all of you that we developed the art for local ag business and have already begun to move this business, you called us liars. All of this rhetoric makes for very bad community cohesion and bad economic development, and you're mocking your local farmers who are using this facility. Truth number three, railroads really are bound by common carrier obligations. The obligation simply states that a railroad cannot refuse to provide transportation service to a company merely because to do so would be inconvenient or unprofitable. This federal ruling applies uniformly across the nation's rail industry to protect shippers from discrimination and price gouging. Unfortunately, Geneva Councilor Ken Camera used a faulty argument against Finger Lakes' obligation, half-quoting the already misconstrued pilot agreement, claiming the railroad is not allowed to haul hazardous material. Again, this is not true. Mr. Camera's selective misquote is a gross misinterpretation of one sentence of the agreement, which is inherently qualified by the, quote, exceptions to compliance with federal law, which not to mention the fact that the commodity you're all talking about, which is specifically MSW, is in fact federally classified as non-hazardous. Truth number four, railroads are governed by the Federal Railroad Administration and the Surface Transportation Board. Specifically in the area of construction and operation, railroads are not subject to local permitting process. Unfortunately, the recent legal analysis done by Mr. Nozzolio's request must not have done the research, because when they went on the record, they falsely reported that the railroad was required to obtain a permit, which is not true, and that since one was obtained, which wasn't, that the resulting stop work order was also issued to the railroad, which you all know is not true. But since Finger Lakes Railway is leasing property and building the Auburn Road Rail Terminal independently, they were asked by the town engineer and code enforcement to show their terminal site plans, which they did to their satisfaction. Last truth for today, truth number five, the Auburn Road Rail Terminal is proposed to be expanded into an intermodal terminal for New York City waste by rail in containers if awarded. However, Mr. Jones, and I heard the beeper, Mr. Jones misrepresents this project by stating incorrectly that other local Finger Lakes projects, for example in Auburn, are also being done to stage a trash train there overnight, 2 or 3 days, and that these trains would be staged at various points along routes from New York City to Seneca Falls, and this is ridiculous, and again, not true. Just because you know a railroader does not mean you know railroading. And it would appear as though you're ginning up the local communities under false pretense to join your cause. However, I do know that for every one of you that rallies against this business and the railroad, that there are 2 others who quietly come to us and say that they understand the nature of the business and they appreciate our efforts, but they don't want to fight with all of you, that you're their neighbors.
I expect the audience to treat each speaker with respect. Ms. Navarro, you have to...
Thank you. I am ending. This is a sad commentary. So in closing, it's disappointing that you pay for lawyers and lawsuits and signs and slogans, and yet you won't come talk to us for free. We've invited you. We've invited you. I hope that we can sit down and without fanfare and cameras and rhetoric, that we can really practice democracy and not just pay it lip service. And I guarantee you that we all want the same thing, and that's progress and economic vitality and harmony. So the invitation is open. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Elliott, Carl Elliott, is going to speak on Seneca Meadows. It's good to see you out tonight, Carl.
you very much. I'm Carl Elliott. I appreciate the fact I'm able to speak tonight. My last speaker, I believe, was speaking to the crowd, and I'd like to actually address the board.
Pull the mic up.
Can't hear you. I'm sorry. I'm calling about the reporting system that is in place through our host agreement and Seneca Meadows on smells and other complaints. When you call to report a strong odor, you're asked from the person on the end of the phone what the odor is that you call about. I always tell them it's the same odor I smell when driving by their landfill on Route 414 because I don't know what to call this odor. But sometime following that call, an employee arrives at the reported location. The employee has no electronic devices. He doesn't verify the odor other than the same way we do with our noses. Most of the time the odor has moved on like a rain shower. I'm really forming the opinion that these are like clouds floating around. So it is reported as a no odor found. The report mailed to the caller also shows no odor found. We received with that report in the mail to your, as the caller, a copy of the odor report signed by Scott Knowlton, operations manager, that states they have developed the Seneca Meadows landfill complaint management program. The management program consists of logging calls, investigating the incident, and performing a corrective action if deemed necessary. It sounds like the 2000 host agreement, section 12. So it has been implemented since at least 2007, if not before. This system is basically in need of improvement. All calls reporting odor are very important, regardless if the odor cloud moves on to another area. We all smell it when we call. Electronic devices possibly could be located at various distances surrounding the landfill by an independent licensed business or perhaps a college. If it senses odor around that landfill, it would be proof that SMI is producing the odor. And it's very frustrating and unfair for our people after calling a few times and having these results of no odor found, and we smell the odor at the time of our calls. So it seems very frustrating, and so we tend not to call. Perhaps we people need a central contact that in turn could notify all the agencies that smell was reported at a certain location. And the letter, of course, from Mazzolio to the board has told you that you have some powers. And I think it'd be nice if you folks maybe modified the host agreement with something a little better on the monitoring of the smells. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Our next petitioner is Karen Rothfuss. She's going to speak about the trash trains.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
No, pull it down.
Hello?
There you go.
My name's Karen Rothfuss. I live in Waterloo. And I came here tonight to talk about the trash trains, or rather against the trash trains. So let me say this. I am against the trash trains, and here is why. I have lived in Waterloo for 28 years. The landfill was not an issue at that time when we moved here, but I'm grateful that we bought a property on the far side of town, the south side of town. I didn't know, and I'm guessing many here didn't either, that a landfill could become a trash mountain, producing noxious, poisonous gas. But now I know, and so does everyone here. Since our Concerns Citizens mailer went out a couple of weeks ago, we've gotten some great written responses from people. And some are simple, just a note at the bottom of the check saying, thanks for your work. And that means everybody who's been working against this. I can't get over, people want to be so verbal on this issue. And I got a 2-page letter from a couple that are retiring to this area because this is where they lived. They moved away to work. They're coming back to be with their children, their grandchildren. And in this letter, they speak about their daughter not being able to take their grandchildren to a playground in either Seneca Falls or Waterloo because it just smells so bad. And this is a very passionate letter. I had another phone call from a man who grew up in Seneca Falls in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and he talked about a really idyllic childhood, and he says, you know, we used to go, you know, do the sports, do the games, hang out, you could hang out downtown here, there. He says, you can't do it now. He says, I come to town to visit my mother, I go to Burnt Dairy to get ice cream, and I choke, he says. I absolutely choke on the smell. So So we're at a point here where we have to put the health and well-being of our children first. They look to us to provide a healthy and safe place to live, and we owe it to them to fully recognize the threat the landfill is to their future, and we need to do something about it. There was one response I got to the letter. It was from, I believe, a staff or teacher at Lafayette School, and she said, thanks for your dedication and wisdom on this. She says she will be at future meetings and protests and walks. She says, Lafayette School with 300 students, grades 3 to 5, smells terrible almost every day. This prompted me to ask my granddaughter, who attends that school, if she smells it outside when she's getting off or on the bus at school. But she says, Grandma, we smell it in the school. Both Seneca Falls and Waterloo have a rich history from which the people who live there can and do derive a great sense of pride. We enjoy sharing that history with others who visit our area. The dump casts a shadow on that rich history and diminishes the positive experience tourists have when they visit us. People who once lived here come back to live and visit and wonder how we could have let this happen. Let's continue to find a way to close this landfill. The sooner the better. It is in our power to do so. Thank you very much.
Our next petitioner is Barb Reese on zero waste resolution.
Good evening, Supervisor Lazaro. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. At the Town of Seneca Falls Board meeting on February 2nd, 2016, Town Councilman Chad Sanderson presented a resolution for the Town Board to support the creation of a zero waste plan. The resolution unanimously passed, sending the message that our town no longer wishes to destroy resources by burying them in a landfill. This is great news for our town because it means that we recognize that there is a better and more responsible way to manage waste. We wish to redesign our town for sustainability, including preserving and conserving our finite resources. It means we are willing to switch from waste management to resource management. The goal of zero waste is to stop wasting and start recovering materials. Zero Waste International Alliance defines zero waste as a 90% diversion from landfills and incinerators. High diversion rates are achieved by recycling, composting, reuse, repair, sharing, and waste prevention. This will be a challenge for us because the 2010 recycling rate for Seneca County was only 10%. A zero waste plan will require policy changes, new initiatives and programs, education to encourage participation, and resource recovery infrastructure. It will take time and require a strong commitment from our town board and our residents. Since the passage of this resolution on February 2nd, has the town been working on creating this zero waste plan? And I'm wondering if there will be a committee set up to create this plan. I'd probably like to help with that if I could. Has a timeline been created for the completion of this plan? Has the town sought input and guidance from other towns and agencies that are further along with this process? Has the town been working with the Seneca County Board of Supervisors to make this a regional priority? Many people in the town of Seneca Falls are hoping that Seneca Meadows landfill will close by 2023. If this is the case, one of the tasks the town and county will have is to switch from waste management to resource management. Creating and implementing a zero waste plan must be on our agenda, and our town must see that it also gets on the agenda of the Seneca County Board of Supervisors. Thank you very much.
And our next petitioner is Vince Lally. He's going to speak on Seneca Meadows.
I live down on Lower Lake Road and have for the last 26 years. As I see it, our mission is to stop Seneca Falls from becoming the trash capital of the Northeast. And we could do that by preventing the trash trains, halting the $3.3 billion tentative agreement between Seneca Meadows and New York City Mayor de Blasio, and to close the landfill by 2023. As Albert Einstein once said, with every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. In 2013, Mayor de Blasio received kudos for being among the top 5 USA cities for effectively managing trash. So on the one hand, the mayor is keeping New York City looking really good, clean, bright, while on the other hand, for every truck filled with trash leaving the Big Apple and ending up in our backyard, it forever scars our beautiful Finger Lakes landscape. In addition to the aesthetics, the landfill jeopardizes the very basics of our lives. The water we drink, the air we breathe and smell, the land that we live on. Compounding the situation, as you know, Seneca Meadows wants to ship trash by rail. In June of 2015, High Acres in Parrington and Macedon became the first landfill in the state of New York to receive trash by train. According to the Democrat and Chronicle, the report is that using trains will accelerate High Acres by tripling its intake of trash. We can't let that happen here. We must demonstrate solidarity and continue to assertively say no to the trash trains. Because as we all know, once Seneca Meadows gets their foot in the door, we know what happens. They take full advantage. Seneca Meadows, and I realize that they do have about 100 jobs out there, and of course that's important. However, how many businesses and potential jobs have been lost because those businesses have decided not to come here because of the sight and the smell of that dump? Einstein also said, with every problem there's a solution. It just takes action. And one deed that everyone can do is to go online to nyc.gov and send an email to Mayor de Blasio and tell the mayor how we feel and why we don't want his trash anymore. And according to Senator Nozzolio, this is a quote from yesterday's Finger Lakes Times, this town board has the power and the authority to accomplish our mission. Let's stand strong together with our town board to stop the trash trains. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next is approval of minutes. I have a motion on the table to approve the regular monthly meeting minutes of March 1st and the special meetings of March 4th and March 7th, March 16th, and March 19th, and March 21st. They're all in 2016. I have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
David, Mr. DeLayles made the motion.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
I have a few questions. On the March 1st minutes, the old business was the sale of the surplus real properties, and you were going to hold a special meeting for the parties that were interested.
Yes.
Did the meeting take place?
Yes, it did.
And do we know the results of that?
They discussed their offers for that building.
Okay. And then I have another question on the minutes from March 19th. And I believe that was the first meeting that we were in, and it was a little confusing. So I just had a question when Mr. Collins was talking about the equalization rate. Is he here tonight?
Yes, he is.
Okay. When you were talking about the equalization rate, so basically, if it gets revalued at 100%, our taxes will go up?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. What I tried to explain is several of the things that you take for granted, such as exemptions now, are impacted by the equalization rate already. Okay, you're not getting the full amount of your exemptions. Okay, if the levy goes to 100%, okay, and the state ratifies that, then and the budget stays pretty much the same or does increase slightly. If the levy is higher, then the tax rate, in my opinion, needs to decrease per thousand. It's just simple math. Without getting into a lot of discussion, I've seen this happen before. I've been an assessor for 20 years. If you want to meet with me, we can go over that in more detail, you know, but there are publications here on the state website which talk about that in detail. It can be a little confusing, but it's pretty much laid out there.
And then we were also talking about in the water sewer projects, about the water tanks. And just curious what the cost per tower on there, did we have what it was going to cost to do all that? I know it's already been approved, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then I know there's cell antennas on the towers that have to come down, and
Yes.
who's going to pay for that?
Well, I've been in contact with one of the carriers is Verizon. And it's contacted their representative, and all they need is a date to schedule, and it's right in the lease that we have with Verizon, that is their responsibility, which they want to keep them. They want to try to
Right,
keep
but
them
are they
operating.
going to charge us to do that?
No, that's their
Okay.
responsibility.
All right.
There's another carrier, and I still need to get the lease documents so we can contact that party as well. That's all in process.
I think that was it for my questions.
Okay. Any more questions? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor of approval of those minutes, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. We'll go right to reports. I think they're all in the packet. Is the door control officer here today? No. Okay. She left. Zoning officer's report is there. If anyone wants to say anything on the reports when I call them out, you know, just wave your hand. Commissioner of Parks and Recreation.
Briefly, thank you, Supervisor Lazaro. Welcome the two new board members, and I understand they're my committee, so I look forward to working with the both of you. I just want to speak to, under maintenance projects, we did mention that we needed to repair the garage at Vince's Park. However, I got a second, I have two bids, quotes, and there's a huge disparity between the two of them. I got the second one this morning. So I want to take some time to make sure that the one that was lower didn't miss something on the scope of the project and have a separate problem. So I'm going to reserve that for the May meeting, or if by chance this board does get together sometime in between now and then with a special meeting, maybe I can jump in on that and go from there. But I'll communicate with you, Greg,
and we could discuss it as we go. I don't feel comfortable making a recommendation at this time. Other than that, my report stands as written.
Also, if any of the council members have questions on the reports, feel free to ask. The assessor?
I have questions on the park and rec.
Oh, okay.
So in your packet, you included 2 vehicles that you would like to purchase.
Right.
One is a lawnmower, and one is a ATV.
Right.
And I know I talked to you a little bit this morning when I called you, asking about it. And I know you told me the quote is just from a New York State.
Contract, correct.
So my question would be, if you would, do you go out and get other quotes and find the lowest quote and compare, instead of just going with one price, do you go out and?
It depends really what it is. Generally, speaking just for myself, but I think other department heads probably in the same boat, when we see a New York State contract, it's a pre-negotiated price, pretty much considered to be the lowest price for what you're looking for. Some of the problems we have, the reason I think I did talk to you about this morning, some of the problems we have is getting apples to apples with some of this equipment. And if, say, John Deere has one versus Kubota or something, sometimes I don't necessarily know if the tires are the same, or, there's some different things that can be very difficult. So generally, no, I'll be honest, we look at the New York State contract, especially with equipment that we use with a local people, we can get maintenance work done on it. And so we like to lean towards an approved contract, especially in New York State, that's pre-negotiated on a yearly basis.
So if you do purchase it from a New York State contract and it's not a local company, who will service that for you?
Well, it depends. For example, both of these pieces of equipment are John Deere. Lakeland is local. They're in Savannah, and also there's a couple of employees that live here in Seneca Falls that really help out bringing parts back and forth and that kind of stuff. So generally, that service is done. One of the other things that service is done by Finger Lakes area. If there are others local that have contracts of equipment that we're interested in, it just depends. Again, most of it's an apples to apples thing, just getting comfortable with a product. One of the other things, like we have our fitness equipment in our fitness room, that's another one. There's usually multiple state contracts for different brands, but different brands do different things, and sometimes it's hard to really gauge. So we get comfortable with a piece of equipment we know works, we like it, we know it's a pre-approved New York State contract. We communicate with Pat Morrell an awful lot with that to make sure that he's pretty good about making sure we dot our I's and cross our T's and all that stuff. And if you notice on these quotes, you'll see the actual numbers, the contract numbers that are available, so you can see them. And again, Pat is pretty good about making sure we have that stuff.
And then can I ask you another question about the ATV that you're looking at purchasing?
Sure can.
So we spoke about this too this morning a little bit. And my question to you was, if the plow was really necessary, because the one that you're looking to purchase doesn't have an enclosed cab, so it would be kind of fruitless to put a plow on it and use that for the winter if the cab isn't enclosed, and you know what I mean? Yeah,
and I kind of likened it to them using a snowblower. They'd be outside in the elements anyways. I got the quote, like as I said to you, it's with the plow as an ad, so that you can see what the price is for the base vehicle and then what the addition for the plow was. And that's up to discussion when we get to that part in the agenda. Obviously, we can discuss that and see what direction it goes. And have a good conversation of whether the necessity of it is, important or not.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Jim, is there, I know most of these vehicles do have like a campus, the closure available for those, right?
Yeah, this has a windshield, full windshield, and a full frame on the outside, just as open on the sides. So yes, I believe there are those kind of things. We haven't really looked at those yet in that regard for the ad. I'm not sure if it's one that fits or you make it yourself. I'm not really sure. We haven't done a lot of research on that, Dave.
Okay.
What are you plowing now?
What?
Area as well?
I'm sorry, Mary?
What are you plowing with now? And what
Yeah,
area?
so right now we have plows on our trucks. We have 2. We have quite a bit. My staff, the Parks and Rec staff, plow obviously the community center, Vincent's Park, and this building as well, the parking lot out back here. So at times, both of those trucks are going. On the new one, you know, those are large plows. Sometimes they're hard to, you know, maneuver around and get smaller piles moved around. One of the positive aspects of having a plow on this one would be that it's a smaller blade, more maneuverable, can move around islands and different things we'd have to deal with. Plus, be able to do the sidewalks. The community center sidewalks are wide, so it would be a benefit there. They could just take that down, not have to actually snow blow some of those areas. You know, and we can talk more about what else is outfitted on that during the agenda item later on in new business.
Was a salt spreader too, right?
Correct.
Any more questions? Highway Superintendent?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. You have my report. I do got a couple things. We've got like 27 to 30 lights out within the town. I've talked with New York State Gas and Electric, and they're telling me it's going to take between 4 and 6 weeks to get around to get these done. They're that far behind. So I just want people to know that that's why these lights aren't getting fixed on the roadsides. And also, I'd like to purchase a set of heavy-duty forks for the Bobcats for $1,159. We use that for the dumpsters that we pick up. In my report, I put down we put out 105 dumpsters this month, but I just got the end quote, which is 152 that we put out. So I did get 2 bids, and they're under state contract. So I'd like to purchase them. I know under the procurement policy, I can go ahead and do that as long as it's under the $3,000 mark. But I just wanted to make the board members aware that I'd like to purchase that. If there's any other questions, feel free to ask.
Jim, how many poles did we lose on Overstreet Bridge this last winter?
On Overstreet Bridge, I would put banners up for Generations Bank for their 19K race. Well, with that windstorm that we had, the banners acted like an umbrella and took the 3 poles down over the side, which we went down that morning and we brought them back up. What's happening, Dave, is we had pressure washed this past year underneath the light poles themselves, and they're so rusted out that when the wind did come up, it just took them right over. So I've got 12 new bases ordered from Maros, which they're making now, and we will have to replace all them bases on that bridge. I talked to Mary and Vic about this.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question about the dumpsters?
Yes.
I know that we, if someone wants one, they can just call and we deliver it, right? And then they fill it up and then we pick it up?
That is correct. We drop it off.
Did we ever think of maybe doing a nominal charge for that?
No, we never talked about it. It was just, we let the public go ahead and, you know, we didn't charge them because we figured with their taxes and everything, it was just a free service for all the residents. We do charge if If there's construction debris, if they want to put construction debris in them, we don't like that, but if there isn't, if construction debris is in there, we do charge them a $25 fee. And that's right on the rules of the dumpsters.
You think maybe if we charged, it would get people to maybe try to recycle and reuse things instead of just throwing them in a dumpster? Just a thought, but I don't know.
Well, I did have a phone call because one lady was concerned that people aren't recycling, they're just throwing everything in there and it's coming to our facility.
Dumpster, do they need to give you an idea of what they're going to be using it for prior to getting the dumpster?
No, the rules are right on the dumpsters when they're delivered, and they just have to read it and they know what they can put in it and what they can't put in it.
Jim, I noticed that you put some signage up on Maple Street.
Yeah, that was an ongoing...
A number of board members have gotten calls about those signs.
Yeah, I was asked to put 2 signs up, one way and do not enter. And then I guess there were some complaints, so I was asked to take them down until the board makes a...
Hey, before the board makes a decision, I would suggest that we have another meeting with the residents on Maple Street, because that group who they represent, because they were concerned that some of the issues, whether rightfully or wrongly, they had the perception that some of the things that were discussed in the meeting and agreed upon isn't what happened. So I would just like to see that group get together again and sit down and work out the differences.
That's fine. I do have a sign that I ordered that's coming in, what the residents of Maple Street wanted. I've been working with Stu on this. He's got more insight on that because he was there at the meetings beforehand. I wasn't in on those meetings. He could probably enlighten you a little more on that.
Okay. I think it's important that we get another meeting together.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And I was contacted as well, and I spoke with Stu over the past week about this. And at this point, the one-way was not contemplated. Well, it was discussed, and specifically, the residents said they didn't want it. At this point, though, I would like to have this. Basically, we have the highway committee, and I want to look into any potential liabilities, and I'll report back to the highway committee if that's okay, on how that shapes up. Because with that island, neither side of the Maple Street is really sufficient to handle two-way traffic. So I think that was the idea between
yeah, well, I did measure that road, and it's 15 feet across.
It is, I'm sure, very convenient if you're near one end of the because it is a dead end. The only traffic it sees is really the residents. However, I'd like to look at that and report back to the committee and see if there's any issues going forward with the requests of the residents in that area.
You're going to check on liability of that town, okay.
Town Justice's report in your packet, water and sewer. Joe, you have anything to add? Or?
Yes, I'd just like to bring you guys up to a little bit up to speed on Blackbrook Road and Warden Road. We're going to be connecting the water to the Waterloo system, and we need to get that done before we paint the water tower. And the Waterloo needs us not to paint our tower and have the valves open until June 1st because of the demand that they're going to have during the month of May, especially on Memorial Day weekend. And that will also give us more time to study how the system is going to react when we do open the valves between our community and theirs and do pressure tests. So if you have any questions about that.
Any questions to Joe?
So, Joe, what's the time frame, and then when are we gonna do this? We're gonna install it, but just not open the valves.
We're going to install it as soon as the permit process is done, and that will probably take place before next meeting. Barton Judas is working on the permits.
Okay, so we're gonna install it, but just not open.
We're going to install it, not open it
Until
until after June 1st. We already put in a driveway at the water tower, preparing for them to paint it, because they need places to park their equipment and stuff, and the ground was too soft also. But Waterloo needs to wait, and quite frankly, we need more time than rushing to get this tower painted at this time.
This is something, as Joe mentioned, Barton Judas is very involved with, and I'm involved as well, working with the Village of Waterloo and the town of Tyre, because it is actually up in the town of Tyre where this connection will be made.
One question? Yes.
I'd like to expand on my report if I could.
Okay.
Okay. You have basically 4 pages that I've given the board members. The initial phase of the revaluation is completed. I have filed a revaluation with the State Office of Taxation and Finance. I've enclosed a copy of an impact notice that I'm mailing to the constituents. So far, I've mailed out 2,700. I'm hoping to have them completed by tomorrow afternoon, so everyone will receive their notice. On the first page, it's fairly self-explanatory. These are state forms that you have to comply with. The second page is a cover letter that I give to every taxpayer, and it talks about if you feel that your assessment is in error, you should make an appointment, an informal appointment that tells you how to do that. Basically, you need to call my clerk and set up a time. And in that meeting, it's a 15-minute meeting, you can present evidence of why your property you feel should be assessed for what it is. The third one is also something that I put together. Basically, it's an informal review application, and it gives specifics. It's an informal review. It's not some legal document, but it gives me an idea of where you're coming from, and I keep those on file. And the last page here, also in this letter, is a website to go to if you want more information. www.taxnewyork.gov. It's got all kinds of information. And it talks about, there's videos to look at. How about your property taxes and your assessment? How are they related? How would you contest your assessment? Do you feel your assessment is unfair? And talks about property tax exemptions. It's very detailed. It's public knowledge. But these are sites that you can go to. I'm going to put the sales, I've submitted the sales to SDG, which is our website, Systems Development Group. At this point in time, they're buried with many other towns doing the same thing. I talked to him today, he thinks he can have it up by the end of the week. In other words, all the sales of ranches, capes, splits, contemporaries, 2-family, 3-family, all these sales that I use for valuation will be on the website. Okay, so that you can look at those. But it takes, they have 80% of New York State, so we'll get them up just as soon as we can, or he'll get them up. Because I'm a little bit behind in the making appointments here, I've talked to and actually been approached by other assessors in Seneca County. Specifically Ann Morgan and Phil Griswold, and they said if I needed help, they would help me. Basically, they would do the interviews, and then they would just submit the report to me. I would make the final determination, but that way we could see as many people as I anticipate may come in. The good news is that Ann can do it at night, and if there are people that are working during the day and can't come to a night, or can't come in during the day, we're going to be set up times 4 to 6 p.m. for them to come in. This Friday, I'm going to split the office. with and Phil, my office. Initially, I thought about using Monday and Tuesday, the gym. At presently, there's not as many phone calls as I anticipated, but that could change. So if it does change, we need to modify how we would do this. I would like to mention, though, that I also talked to the town supervisor, and he indicated to me that he suggested there be Seneca Falls police presence at the informals. And I've talked to the police chief, and he's agreed to do this. My question is, do you want me to implement this policy at this time?
I would think it's a good idea.
Okay. Okay, that's what I want to know, because going forward, then we'll have to set up times, and I've emailed the police chief here so that he's agreeable, so we'll get that set up. Okay. Do you have any questions on this? All assessments basically are based on sales. You have cost approach and you have sales for residential properties. I've got a couple books here that I've done the research on. These are just ag sales. They're in my office. You can come in and look at them. These happen to be lake sales. They're split into different postage stamp lots, road divide lots, that type of thing. So the research is basically documented here, and you're welcome to look at that sort of stuff. But I did want to clarify, I will get this set up tomorrow, and we have chairs out here so that we'll usually take 2 people at a time in the office. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Chief, do you have your report? Do you want to add anything to it?
I just want to point out a purchase. I spoke with the Public Safety Committee briefly about that at our meeting. It's going to be for a new plate reader and radar. The majority of the cost is covered by a grant from DCJS. So the total cost for the town would be $1,076.40. And I would like the town board to take a look at that for consideration at our next board meeting, whether that be a special meeting or a next town meeting.
Who's that grant written by?
Who's it written by?
Yeah.
That was a grant I received from Senator Zolio.
Any other questions?
I just want to say that I was very impressed by your report. There's a lot of information in there, and it's very informative about like the police officers that are doing the training and the cases that you've had and the percentage of up and down for the crime. And I also, in our packet, I don't know if this came from, but I didn't understand what it was, but it says the summary of report of cases closed.
That's from the court.
That's from the court, okay. So my question is, they have all these different cases listed, but it says PL, VTL, CIV, and how do we get something that explains what all these abbreviations are?
I can get those abbreviations from the court.
I'll put notes on mine and I'll straight with it.
Okay.
Something like that.
Well, because
it's the different sections of the New York State law that the particular things are written under. It's just, it needs to be broken down that way because that's what, all these numbers, all this stuff is part of a larger report that goes to the state. And it's broken up for them in that way. And also to give you an idea that, well, you can see the largest number there is vehicle and traffic law. VTL.
That's VTL, which I wouldn't know what that meant.
Right. No, of course.
Yeah.
Why would you? But so that's what that is. And just when you see the breakdown, you can see where the resources are going.
Okay.
But yeah, I can
Yeah, it'd be nice so that I could understand what I'm looking at.
Sure.
Okay.
And that, there's another report. It really depends on what the town board is looking for, but I also produce another report that breaks down every single one of our penal law charges and whether they're felony, misdemeanor, violation, traffic stops. I'd give you the number because I don't know how much information you really want out of that, but I guess I could discuss that with the Public Safety Committee to see exactly what the board is looking for, but I can pretty much, with our system, produce any report the board's looking for.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
John, you're on this list. Does Barton Recruiters have anything to report on?
Just that we continue to advance the projects as we reported on at the March 21st meeting. And later on the agenda, there is an item where we'll be looking for a resolution to authorize the bidding process for the Route 414 sewer upgrades. We'll talk about that when it comes on the agenda.
Building committee? And any other committee reports? Go to old business. Communications. Communications have been filed with the clerk. If you want to go look at them, more than welcome to. Would you like me to read them out? I can. There's a bunch of them here. Okay, so I have a motion to receive and file these communications.
I'll make a motion to receive and file those communications.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Under old business, under A, Salad condominium and surplus real properties. Any more information on that?
Is that something that we want to discuss in executive session?
We can discuss that in executive session tonight because we have a few people here.
It would be a matter that could affect the impact of value of real property.
Any more information on the Auburn Road sewer extension?
That's one of the projects that John was alluding to.
Okay. Write-off uncollectible receivables, any information on that?
Ask that that be tabled. That's the ongoing matter with the outstanding community development block grant loans that were made in years past and collecting on unpaid ones, unpaid that could possibly proceed to judgment on one of them. So that's an ongoing matter.
Route 414 sewer line transfer from IDA to town.
And that's the same, trying to deal with the town of Tyre, maybe dealing with the water. We'll get that back moving. The town of Tyre had to obtain some easements to address the sewer line with the IDA before that can be transferred over to the town.
Bandstand renovations at People's Park.
This month I'll be going before the HBC. I have quotes, and I'll come back before the board next month, see what we want to do. Because some are vinyl, some are wood, and the HBC likes wood. So, I have the bids, just go before them and tell them what I have and see what they want to do.
Okay.
What their liking would be.
Water Street Hill renovations.
I can speak to that. The town has an active volunteer gardener group that has taken on over the past 2 or 3 summers, maybe a little longer, different projects. The town board has leaned on that group to come up with plans and help assess some of the conditions we have. One of the things that is a ongoing problem for us is the Water Street Hill that sits above the municipal parking lot coming down the old WSFW building. And last year, one of the things we thought we might want to do is stone over that thing to kind of take care of the problems with the growth of the grass and the weeds that come through. But 2 weeks ago, I met with the volunteer gardener group, and they felt strongly that if they got after it now and set a monthly maintenance date, and they all meet at the hill and do their thing, that they think they can keep it green and keep it looking the way it was intended. They met for the first time this past Saturday before the weather kind of got crazy, but they got a good chunk of it done. They're meeting again this Saturday to kind of get it caught up, and then from there they'll see how it goes. So the good news in that is it saves us an awful lot of possible budget money to deal with a different plan. This keeps the hill green, keeps it as intended, and we'll see if we can keep up with it. So I think we can take it off the old business for now, and then I can report later on based on, you know, progress and how we're handling it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Next one's yours too.
Do you ever go to those meetings?
I'm sorry?
Do you ever go to
Yes, I'm the one who puts them together, and what generally will happen is committee will get invited to those meetings as well. And but when we had planned that meeting, you hadn't necessarily been appointed yet. So the meeting has been set that we're going to try to meet the last Wednesday of every month at 5 o'clock at the community center. But I will remind you as we get closer to those events.
One is Parks and Recreation, purchase of a mower.
In your packets, you'll see a mower that we're looking to purchase. A little background is that generally in the budget, we budgeted for a trade-in and then the difference being paid. However, I'm asking to not trade that in, and the reason being is that back in earlier this year in January, I met with Jim Peterson, and our staffs met to talk about different jobs that we each have a hard time, we seem to struggle to get to, based on the amount of workload, especially in the summertime. There are sidewalk issues and there are light pole issues, as Jim already alluded to earlier, and all kinds of those kind of things that pop up. In the past, our staff has tried to handle some of that, but we don't necessarily have the expertise or the tools or the know-how. And Jim has a bunch of mowing that he does that his guys are better suited doing maintenance than they are mowing grass. So we sat down in the past, we were trying to come up with a way to save the town from having to hire another person or create a different department, where we thought maybe if we got together, put our heads together, made a list and figured out how best to attack it. And we have decided that our group will take on much more of the mowing. So Jim can free his guys up to do the maintenance work that the town really needs done, you know, around town. They're not stuck on a mower. They're actually doing the things that they're best at. So we are going to need that mower, at least for now. The plan would be that if for some reason we find that the mowers we have are sufficient, we can always go back and sell that extra equipment as surplus and put that back into the funds. So that's the plan. I did speak with Dave about that as well as Greg, in the absence of a committee when this stuff would go, you know, forward. And related to that, I also have a personnel issue that I do want to talk to you folks in executive session for a brief, Greg, if that's okay. But it's related to this issue as well. So I do have a New York State contract here for a John Deere C-Track, $10,528. I have $7,500 in the budget. I do have extra monies available that we are not purchasing a truck this year. It was put in the budget by the former, our last building maintainer, who has since retired, and our new one isn't quite sure he need one, nor does he want the one that we quoted for it. So we're going to sit on that for the year and not spend that money. It's silly to just spend it just because it's there. So I do have some monies that I can transfer to pay for that, and I feel comfortable asking for your approval.
I'll make the motion that we buy the John Deere lawnmower for $10,528.21. John Deere Z.
You want to do that under new business, Dave?
We'll do it new.
This is it.
This is?
Yes.
Well, it's under.
Well, we can do it under here. Okay, go ahead, David. You made the motion.
John Deere Z930R commercial Z-Track for $10,528.21.
I have a second.
Second that.
Discussion.
Also, when that it is under contract, state contract.
That's the contract is through the National Joint Powers Alliance, which is the same outfit who had the contract for the what was that? The vacuum, the sewer vacuum truck. So that was the same. It's the same company that has the contracts for these other things. Also have this, and so we're doing this as a piggyback on that contract.
I just have a hard time just okaying one price that, and we don't, like as a business person, you usually just get 3 or 4 different prices. And I know you can't do apples to apples like you were saying, but I have a hard time just agreeing to a price when no one's even looked to see if you can get something comparable at a lower price.
That's fair. I mean, I understand that. It's just, like I said, for us, it's an easier opportunity where we have all John Deere's, we're familiar with the equipment, we know how it wears, so, it makes sense for us. But I obviously respect your opinion. I understand.
I'm not saying that to buy it. I'm just saying
I know.
that,
We can talk further about that maybe as we go forward.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
As it is right now, no. Are you looking to?
You want to take a roll call on that?
Sure. Rick Loretta,
Yes.
Annette Lutz,
No.
Dave DeLavis,
Yes.
Mary Saratori? No. Greg Mazzaro?
Yes. Motion passes. And then H is execute certified local government agreement. I'm going to ask a person in the audience to speak a little to this, if he would mind. Matt? Or Dan? Under H.
All this paperwork.
Whoever has the red four folks in the parking lot, could they please move it so I can get out?
Okay, good.
I'm locked in front and back, so somebody, red Ford focus.
Okay, let's get this done before he comes back.
Evening, Dan Babbitt here, Seneca Falls. Congratulations to our new members. The subject is the historic preservation. Historic Preservation Office message here is New York State Historic Preservation Office, otherwise known as SHPO, helps communities identify, evaluate, preserve, and revitalize their historic, agricultural, and cultural resources. The SHPO Administrators Program authorizes both the National Historic Preservation Act of '66 and the New York State Preservation Act of 1980. You should have a packet on this that tells you what SHPO expects. This goes to the national level. They okay it, comes back this way. These are grants that should help. Find the right place here. Preservation Grants Program, state, federal, environmental review, wide range of technical assistance. SHPO works with governments, public, educational, and not-for-profit organizations to raise historic preservation awareness. Essentially, they give grants, and the procedure for doing that is in the packets that I gave out.
What's the expedient nature of this today? Because it's a big packet. I didn't really have a lot of time to look at it, but I felt there was an expediency issue here.
The Village of Seneca Falls had it, and they got grants. This authorizes the town to get grants.
And at the same, to follow up on that, I believe it was August of last year, the Historic Preservation Committee was working with the Parks and Recreation and Historic Department from the state, and they suggested a number of changes to our code dealing with this. Those changes were made by local law last August to bring us up to the way that Parks and Recreation and Historic Preservation wants to see our code, so that we are qualified and are eligible to take part in this program.
That's with the town, right?
Yeah, that was last August, and so that was all done. As far as expediency, as far as this month versus next month, I don't think there's going to be much of a difference. I'm sure that there's there's a lot here. But I just wanted to point out that this has been in the works for some time, up to and including, the public hearings necessary to have amendments to the local law, and that was all done at the end of last year. But I don't think there would be any harm in giving this a full review and acting on it at the next meeting.
I would move to table this until the next meeting then.
Quick note before you vote. Andrew Como says it strives to put pride in place amongst all New Yorkers. So this is backed by federal, state, and they were asking for local. So feel free.
Okay, I'm just, I was told by the attorney that it didn't need to be signed today.
No.
We could wait a month. And if that's correct, then I'd like all board members to read it,
sure,
understand it, ask questions, and give me the okay to sign it.
Yeah, the last board had the okay, it just didn't come to fruition.
Just didn't get it until last week.
So you might actually I assume you already have the paperwork for it, it just needs to be done.
Yeah, right here.
Thank you. Any questions?
Being an ex-zoning board member of the Village of Seneca Falls, I know a lot of times we had people come before us that went through these rules and they were trying to do stuff to their house. And we had to make some good decisions there too. So I imagine our zoning board will have people come before them for the same thing.
Look at it this way, it gives you some money.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Oh, do I have a second on the table?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'd just like to know, who would we contact, when we read this, if we have questions? Where would we go to get our information?
The person that I always met at Edward with is not here, I think. Frank Carcel.
If you need, if I may,
Matt, go ahead.
If you need to contact someone in order to get specific information with regard to the contract or the relationship with SHPO, the name would be James Finelli, F-E. Finelli, I believe is the spelling. And he is the SHPO coordinator for Seneca Falls at the state level.
And is his number on here? Do you know if it's in here?
His number may be on the letter addressed to Greg as town supervisor. Maybe on there somewhere. Should be.
This one was approved for Pete, They have a number there that you can get.
Way on the bottom there.
But the coordinator has changed. So the most current letter has the name of the current coordinator, James Finelli, and it's on that cover letter addressed to you as town supervisor.
Okay, under new business, approval of special events.
We have 4 that were submitted this month. Excuse me. All have been reviewed by myself and Chief Beanstra. Ready?
All right.
We have, again, like as I said, we had 4 submitted this month, heavy load. I'm going to go through each one. They've all been reviewed by myself and Chief Beanstra. The first is for April 16th, a couple of weeks from now, Antonio Baracali Day at the bridge from noon to 2. That's an annual event that's been 3rd or 4th year, I believe. Seneca Falls Music Department Pageant of Bands for Saturday, May 21st. Seneca Falls American Legion Memorial Day Parade, 30th of May. And the Seneca Falls Classic Car Show, Sunday, July 24th, from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Recommend your approval. I will take, obviously, any questions you may have.
I also talked with Jim about this being a past committee member when we still didn't have our new committee members for him. So, and I'm on with the Classic Car Show on that board. So we have all the insurance and everything. So
actually, we have all insurances submitted, with the exception of the Pageant of Bands. They actually will be submitting that here usually within a couple of weeks. So, but we know that's a school. We don't worry about that. We know it's coming. The other 3 actually have already submitted and have them on file with us.
And that's after the next meeting also.
I'm sorry?
That's after the next meeting. The Pageant of Bands isn't until May.
Correct. So we have plenty of time. And Mary, when we get together, we'll go through the process. Generally what happens is I review those with committee so that you can also recommend approval of these events to your colleagues. So once we get into a system, you guys will be running at the ground level of these things as well. Okay?
So I make a motion to approve those special events.
Can I just ask one question on this one sheet that you gave us? It mentions Canal Fest on the front. That's not been approved yet?
No, they haven't submitted any paper yet, Vic. They're in the process of getting their act together. At the last meeting we had with those folks, Chief Beanstra and I agreed that we will sit down with the organizers, actually help them fill that out. That's going to be quite a project they're taking on. It's going to be a great event, but it's going to take a little help from us to make sure they get everything put together. They'll have that at the May. We'll have that ready for the May meeting.
That would take place within the dates here or whatever, in July, like there's a classic car show, it's July 8th or something, it'd be before that, right?
Correct. Yeah, what'll happen is our event policy states we want as much as possible, whenever possible, submittal of approval event application 60 days prior. So I've told them as long as they get it to us for the May meeting, we're in good shape.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Made a motion.
A second.
Very seconded.
Discussion. Seeing none. Go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Was that the only maintenance equipment that you needed?
No, the next one, the next one is for the ATV.
I have a motion.
For ATV. I'll make a motion that we buy the ATV.
I have a second.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
Same
I
thing.
know, same thing for me. And also, you have the plow on there that's $3,500, $3,100. That seems a little expensive for a plow. So I'm with the same thing. Number one, I think maybe we don't need the plow. And I really feel better if we had a couple more bids in front of us instead of just one.
Can I give some background just about the actual need for the vehicle, just so everybody get on the record? The vehicle, we are starting to run into many more events downtown that need garbage emptied, things moved around, signage. It's next to impossible sometimes to empty the garbage when there's large crowds downtown and a lot of traffic. We also, in the past, my maintenance gang are also responsible for maintaining the potted barrels downtown, water barrels. In the past, we had an old truck and an old water bladder that was constantly having to be fixed and not necessarily worked. And Dan Babbitt can speak to that because he's the one that does all the watering. And this would also enable us to put a water bladder on the back that would handle that. We know that for those of you that have been downtown, in the wintertime, especially on the south side of Fall Street, a lot of times we get freezing on that. Sidewalks can be kind of tricky. This ATV will fit down the sidewalk with a sandbox on the back, a sand spreader, a salt spreader I should say, that can handle that as well. And it gives us a lot of opportunities to do multiple things, and it enables us to be safe when we take care of garbage and big events and those kinds of issues. So that's where this request has come from. We do have money in the budget under that truck budget line, and still saving money that we wouldn't spend on that. So that's why the request is here. I did speak with Greg, and I did speak with Dave back, like I said, before we had a committee. So that's why the request is there, and hoping you'll consider it.
I don't know, the Village of Waterloo has one. You see that being used a lot for the Village of Waterloo to go through there.
So the bed sprayer would be used for what? What is that?
The sprayer, that's the water.
Okay.
That's the water bladder.
And then the drop spreader would be to spread the salt or sand?
Correct.
Okay.
You know, and I did ask specifically for the bid to be split out so that the plow was as an ad, so you guys could see the difference and make a decision.
Because the spreader is expensive too. It's $3,400.
Yeah.
Just for comparison's sake, I figured I'd look one up.
Sure.
Just to give you an idea online, and this is just from a different warehouse.
Mary, the mic.
Sorry, they're selling the exact same one for $10,499. So I feel like I'm kind of in the same sense as she is. I think it's very needed, but if we don't have comparable numbers, I just want to make sure we're not spending our money on something.
I did look one up. Are you sure it's the same exact? I mean, I don't disagree.
Well, you don't have the top on it, you don't have the windshield.
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff adds up too.
But for example, I just don't know because there's nothing else.
I did the same thing. I went online to look at. And
Yeah, you know, and again, this is the practice is what it's been, using state contracting. It keeps, the state has pre-negotiated these things. Pat probably can speak to this better than I can, but it's and it makes it easier for us to do our jobs, to go and get something you know has been negotiated at a fair price, and the state accepts it and passes it on to local municipalities to go ahead and accept it. That's how it's worked. That's how we've done it in the past.
Like I said, looking at it here, what you've got online, it doesn't have the roof, it doesn't have the windshield.
Fair, you know,
Sure.
it's done in the past doesn't mean we need to.
No, I know, but that's...
It's bucket seats against the bench seat. There's got to be something between for controls. For the plow, I imagine.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sure, I respect that.
No, you're not being picky,
You
but
want more
I'm just...
information, you want more information.
Yeah,
Don't
Fair
apologize
enough.
for that.
Comparison, I don't know how much,
And,
you know.
and again, I was at a disadvantage here, folks, because both of my guys up and resigned and you guys jumped in last minute. So generally, we would meet well in advance, saying, here's what I'm doing, you can get your 2 cents in, saying, I'd like you to do this or that before I support it, and then we work together like that. In this case, this month I had a little disadvantage, and I really can't wait much longer, because especially with the mower. So that's why we're, sitting here in this little gray area right now, so.
Just wanted to follow up on what you were talking about with the state bid contract. What that does is when the town is buying something that's over a particular threshold, you're required to go have the public bidding process where it's confidential. We opened bids this evening on the rental of the equipment for the highway, and that's done with an advertisement. It takes about a month, and then it's submitted confidentially, and then you open it at a public meeting, and typically we'll award the low bid. This piece of equipment does not reach the threshold that requires that more formal process. But even if it did, purchasing something from the state bid contract allows you to forego that whole process. Okay, because the state is saying, okay, we've negotiated, for kind of across the board, and allows municipalities to use the prices that they've arranged for with these suppliers without having to go through all the formalities that would otherwise be required. But this particular piece of equipment doesn't reach that threshold anyway, but that's the same concept, of why this would be presented in this way.
So that ATV, what do you think would be your basic, or what would you use it the most for?
Garbage, events, the watering, those are the 2 key things. The salt spread would be nice for our we have large sidewalks at the community center, especially during the winter when a lot of people have to park out back. That's one swoop down rather than having to walk back and forth with a spreader to do that. So those kind of things, those are the main thing. The big thing, we're going to be honest with you on that, is the event. Having a way to get downtown during events without worrying about traffic, because it can drive on the sidewalk. It'll have a little siren and a little beep, and it'll have the emergency beacon, and so we can get down there comfortably, get garbage moved out, haul signs if we need tables downtown, those kind of things. We're able to. It's a pretty valuable tool for that.
And we also discussed whether it would be a licensed vehicle or if you would trailer it, right?
Correct. We have a trailer that we can haul if we need it for an event in Vincent's Park. It'll fit on a trailer, we'll trailer it out. The other part is we are able to take it across town, like the kids' territory. We'll be able to, I think we can do the triangle. I gotta check that out. Jim Peterson probably can help me with that more than anybody else.
With all the discussion tonight, I'm going to move to table this until our next meeting. And the rec committee gets back to Jim and sit down with them and ask him these questions. If you have any more information that you can come up with. So my motion is to table. I think that takes precedent over the first motion. So do I have a second to table?
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor of tabling, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. We had a meeting on a local law earlier tonight.
It's been approved.
Was approved,
Yep.
okay. That was a long time ago. I just got back from San Diego, guys, so I'm still on a 3-hour delay here. Our certified local government agreement was tabled. The sewer salary adjustment, I'm going to move that till next meeting. Okay?
Is that the Adam Twitchell? Okay.
Table, yes. I have a second on that. Is that's not, there's no expedient nature to that?
Back
The salary adjustment.
That's, well, it's retroactive, so that's up to you.
Retroactive.
So it doesn't, there's no expediency,
Okay.
but it is retroactive.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. For the Highway Department, appoint part-time person for drop-off area. I have a motion.
That's correct. I had several applications here. I tried to get a hold of my personnel committee, but we never were able to hook up, so I went through the applications and myself, and I do have one applicant that I'd like to hire for this, if the board would choose so, or I really don't want to wait on it because I want to get this open for the weekends for these people. So, I mean, it's up to the board to make a decision what they want to do tonight.
Jim?
We'll discuss that in executive session real quickly.
Okay.
Okay?
Because Jim did get a hold of me on it, personnel.
Okay.
And I was out of town.
Yes. That's why I want to have dedicated nights for those committee meetings. And they need to be opened up to the public also. Modification to town hall budget.
Bev's got here, positive result is that the budget for the town hall is larger than necessary, which is good news.
So we're under budget on that?
Yes.
I saw that there was something that was over budget on that, though. Hold on, because there's quite a little paper here. Engineering, maybe?
Engineering.
Went up by like 60,000, is that about right? Am I wrong?
You're right, if it was approved for 98,000 and it was modified to 165, so that went up, right? We're reading that right?
Yeah.
Actually, it was approved for the 160, is what the agreement was. It was modified because that money was not spent or billed for last year. So Bev put it into this year's, into the modified town budget, but it was, the 160 was the pre-approved amount.
And why does she have 98,000 there?
When she did the budget for it, those numbers were put together. Those numbers were estimated on what was going to be spent last year versus what was going to be spent and paid this year. And that was not that money was not paid last year, so it was now modified to go into this year's budget. So it has not gone up, it is the exact amount that was approved originally.
Transfer 215 money. Right. That was in the 215 budget.
Yes, yes.
That's what she told me.
It's not on the budget here. From February. Questioning 60,000, 66,000 maybe.
Okay,
We could look into that, right? It's 215. I have here, there's nothing in 215, but
I mean, this is all budget things with Bev Warfel, who is would be much better spot to explain it.
Okay.
Than anybody else here would be.
When I talked to her, that's what it explained to me.
It just wasn't on here, so I just wanted to make sure it wasn't.
It was just a carryover. But the last modified budget, by right, we were 18,000 to the good, and that still wasn't touching 50,000 for furniture and 105,000 for miscellaneous. We haven't touched, am I right, John? We haven't touched the 105,000 or the 50,000 yet.
That's correct at this point, yes.
It's still out there. There's also 50,000 that didn't get carried over from the 650,000.
I don't believe they've carried that over yet.
Bev told me she transferred from last year's that money that we're missing there. We're trying to find where it was. It was 650,000. They didn't get transferred over. She transferred over 600,000 to modify the budget, and which was approved. And I forgot. Emo made the motion. As a matter of fact, I seconded last year at one of our meetings. So there's still 50,000 left over there. So we have that 50,000 for furniture and 105,000 for miscellaneous that we haven't even used yet, and we're still 18,000 to the good right now. Which is good news.
There's a town building committee. Is there a town building committee? There's a building committee. Perhaps it should be moved on to the town building committee, and they'll take a good look at it, okay? And ask any questions.
You said this came up last week and everybody was gone.
I understand that.
It's gone, yeah.
But,
That's okay, no.
That's why people are asking to get the committee
They get a hold of
process changed.
Bev, make sure you get a hold of her this week because she's having her knee surgery and she's going to be out for 3 months. So make sure you go on her stand and get a hold of Bev this week.
Okay, I moved the table list till next meeting then. I have a second for that table.
I'll second that. Like I said, I sat down with her for half a day with this.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. This is a discussion item on the town office building lease. I guess we have to give the parish our notice of 6 months that we plan to vacate the building on completion of the other. I would guess the completion of the other building is going to take place in about 6 months. So we need to write a letter to the parish stating that we're going to vacate their premises.
I can take care of that. I know I'll talk with John about that as far as timing, but otherwise, if we're ready to do that, I can do that.
Make a motion for that, Pat?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that Pat.
Town board action authorize me to...
Authorize, I'll make a motion to authorize Pat to get hold of the parish for that lease.
This is a certificate of the next, oh.
I'll second that.
Second, I thought that was just under discussion. You need a motion, okay. Sorry, discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. I need a motion to give a certificate of recognition to Sago E. Watt Ha Chapter National Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, Seneca Falls and Waterloo, for 120 years dedicated patriotism and service to our country, awarded this 23rd day of April 2016. Yes.
Okay, their anniversary, they're having some kind of an event on the 23rd.
Yeah.
They would like you to present the certificate to them.
Okay.
That's why it's dated 23rd.
So do I have a motion on?
I'll motion that you can do that.
Okay. I have a second, thank you.
Well, I'll second it.
You don't have to table this till next month, it's too late then. There is an expedience issue on this one, so. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
I have it.
Yeah.
Just put that in the
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to authorize bidding for the Route 414 sewer upgrades. Made a motion, I need a second.
I'll make a motion to do that.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. The quotes for Fox Cemetery mowing.
Yes, Greg, last year, we were asked to take over the Fox Cemetery as far as the mowing goes. So last year, all we did is called a couple landscapers and got some quotes to have them do that. So I did call a couple of landscapers, and I've got 2 quotes here for that. One is from T&T Lawn Care, and the other one is from Bush Brothers Landscaping, both out of Seneca Falls. So I guess it's up to the board what their pleasure is with this.
What are those quotes?
One quote is for $100 every time they mow it, and that's mowing and trimming weekly. And the other one is the same, mowing and trimming weekly, and that's $140.
Which is which?
T&T Lawn Care is for $100, and the Bush Brothers Landscaping is $140 every time they mow it.
Where is it? Fox Cemetery, you said?
Yes, it's on Blackbrook Road.
A little cemetery on the right, Blackbrook Road. We inherited it last year.
Yes, last year we inherited that one.
I'll make a motion that we take a little bit of T&T for $100.
Second.
And they mow every week? Right.
Yes, this says mow and trim weekly.
Discussion.
How long does it take them to mow the whole cemetery?
I believe it just takes 1 day.
But that's, okay, but that's just straight $100? Or,
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was $100 an hour.
No, that's no.
Okay.
I'll do it for that.
That'd be nice money. $100 an hour.
I don't know, yeah, I thought it was...
No, he said weekly.
Okay.
That was, and trim.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion passes. In your packet, you had a yellow sheet. Take a look at it. And if you want to attend, get to Nikki. So I make a motion that we can send up to...
This is basically for zoning and planning board members. And what they do is they notify me, and we send as many. They have to have 4 certified hours a year.
Right.
So this is part of their education. So we just send whoever is willing, wants to go.
Okay, and I think the cost is...
It's just a
registration fee of $75 and mileage. So make a motion that we send the members of the zoning and planning board who would like to attend up to what amount? Do you want to signify an amount?
Well, having attended those, being at the village of the zoning board, they are very informational. So if I know from the past, all the planning members and all the zoning members went. Sometimes they did it online. So but those that attend, just $75 per person. So whoever wants to attend, that lets Nikki know. I think they should let them know. I mean, they're taking time off of their own time during the day. I know I used to have to take off the day from work to do it, but...
Okay, I make a motion to approve attendance of the zoning and planning board members of the regional government workshop.
Second that.
Discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Water and sewer credits.
So what is this report?
Could be a leak in the basement, it could be...
Yeah, this is a credit in the town's code when somebody discovers a leak. Before the leak is discovered, usually it's discovered by having a very large water bill and sewer. So in that circumstance, the code allows for a credit to be given of 50% of both water and sewer. And so that was this month's activity.
Does this have to be voted upon?
Yes.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the water and sewer credit reviewed at our April 2016 meeting in the total credit of $250.38.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. You want to pay the bills now? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We're now in executive session on a personnel issue and on matters